Hi, friends, and welcome back to Getting Close, a podcast about connection. My name is Aidan Wharton, and today you and I are connecting with Jordan Gonsalves. We have been talking a lot about shame recently, and I have been unpacking so much about shame recently. And today, Jordan is going to take us on a journey through shame, because he has spent the majority of his career talking about shame, interviewing people about shame, and unpacking how shame affects us in so many ways. This is deeply, deeply personal for me. I mean, if you follow me on Gay Buffet, you know how much I've been writing about shame, and shame affects all of us, but it affects us in ways that we don't entirely understand. So Jordan is here to break down some of these ways. And I cannot wait for you to listen. I actually think it's a great way to kick off Pride Month, because so much of Pride and how we experience Pride is through combating and overcoming shame. So hopefully with the tools from this episode, you'll be able to celebrate Pride a little more fully this year. Jordan is a journalist who reports on shame. He is the host of a new podcast called Unshaming, coming out June 17th, which you can listen to or watch wherever you're going to get this podcast. Well, not going to get, you're already getting it. He's interviewed over 100 people on how shame has kept them from finding love, from being happy with their body, for happy with their lives, and how they've overcome it. His goal is to teach you that the shame we carry isn't ours to begin with. It is a really exceptional conversation. Jordan is a new friend, somebody who I connected with because of this podcast and his podcast. And let me tell you, we really speak the same language. And if you like this podcast, you are going to love his podcast. But in this episode, we cover his number one way to overcome shame, how shame keeps us trapped in compulsive dating, whether or not you should have sex with your friends, which you know is a topic I love to explore, 3 virtues to overcome shame, which completely changed how I think about shame, and the importance of straight female friendships, and all about his new show and the experiences that he has had learning about shame and how he discovered that, as he says, his shame is not his own. It's a really powerful episode. It really made me think differently about shame. So if you're thinking about somebody who maybe is experiencing shame and unable to talk about it, send this episode to them. We'll be right here waiting when you come back. Okay, now, without further ado, let's get close with Jordan Gonsalves. Hi, Jordan. Welcome to Getting Close. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I just popped my Celsius.
And now we're
So I'm
ready to go. It's back. It's a little rainy. It's a little cozy. I'm very excited to talk to you. I want to talk about shame and loneliness, 2 very serious, heavy things that you have spent a lot of your time, your life, your career thus far talking about. So to kick us off, in your words, why are shame and loneliness so important to talk about in 2026?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for having me.
Of course.
I'm so excited to meet all your cute little audience members too.
They're pretty great.
I've heard they're great. And even though we're going to talk about shame and loneliness, I think it's important to also realize that you can be lighthearted and playful and loving while we're talking about it too.
Right.
So why is it important? It's really the silent factor that is shaping all of our lives.
Okay.
I hope that by the end of this episode, your audience will have information about why they engage in different behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do you feel anxious when you enter that texting dynamic with someone that you're dating? Why is it so hard to move on from people who you feel like have disrespected you in some way? Why is the people pleasing so bad? Why is it that we feel so rejected and desolate when we get sexually rejected by other gay men, and how to fix all of that? So these are big issues.
Before we dive into all of that, because it is all shit that we all deal with, I want to talk a little bit about your journey to get here. And something that I don't know if you know that I just found out is that our journey collegiately started at the same place at the exact same time. Because I also went to Pace University.
No way.
For 1 year, but we were both, you started at 2013, right?
Yes.
So did I.
Oh my God, wait, so you're 30 too?
I just turned 30, in September.
Wow. Okay.
Not just. So
That is
yeah, look at
amazing.
us. I was like, you're the commencement speaker as well. So tell us a little bit about how you got here.
Yeah, you did do your
I
research.
sure did.
I thought I was supposed to be the journalist. Yeah, so how did I get here? In terms of working on shame and
Yeah.
whatnot. Yeah, I
Because I think you've had such an interesting, varied pathway that
for sure.
if you looked back on it, you wouldn't really think that that was the straight shot.
No, not at all. In fact, I my dream when I was a child was I wanted to be an opera star.
Okay.
And then I went to school for business and I ended up becoming a consultant
Hmm.
in Silicon Valley for a little while. But I really was very ashamed of being gay, and it was a huge part of my life and my upbringing. So I grew up in the South in Texas,
Okay.
and I also have immigrant parents from India, and I also grew up devoutly Catholic.
It's a lot. A
Yeah, it
lot
is a
standing in
lot.
the way of accepting your sexuality pretty early on.
Totally. Yeah. And it seemed as though from the time I was a child, my destiny had already been kind of written for me.
Okay.
And that was to get married in the Catholic Church and give my parents grandchildren with the wife I would spend the rest of my life with.
Right.
And from a very early age, I knew that being gay was probably the worst thing that I could ever be. I ended up coming out to my family when I was in college, when I was a senior in college.
Okay.
Funny enough, I fell in love with with someone, and that was sort of the
Of
catalyst.
course.
And when I came out to them, they were very devastated by that. But I went on a trip to India shortly after without them.
Hmm.
It was kind of my first time going there as an adult. And I learned so much about them, even though I wasn't with them. And
And this was after you'd come out. Okay.
yes, like a month after I came
Oh,
out,
very, very soon after.
very soon after. It was already planned.
Yeah.
But I had realized when I was there that the shame that I had carried my whole life really was never mine. It was my family's shame. It was my religion's shame. It was my society's shame. And that was really like kind of my BCAD,
Hmm.
like, before and after. And it's a gift that I hope to give to everyone that I connect with,
Yeah.
realizing that the shame that we carry that controls so much of our life really isn't ours to begin with.
And what happened on that trip to make you come to that realization?
Yeah, I remember this distinct memory of meeting with my dad's sister, and I haven't actually thought about this in a while, but she's super religious.
Mhm.
So I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, I think I want to come out to her." And I did, and she sort of was like, "Oh, eh, so many people that I counsel come to me for this, and I give them help, like to be um, straight again and to
Right.
go down the path of God." And I was like, "Oh, wow, this is what my parents grew up around.
Hmm.
No wonder they have a hard time with this, because this is the environment that they learned about this through."
Right.
Um, my dad was also a huge fan of Freddie Mercury, who is like
Uh-huh.
he's Indian,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
a rock star. And my dad had kind of idolized him, and he is huge in India
Yeah.
still. And I remember seeing that when I was there, and he was kind of the first depiction that I think my parents had of
Mhm.
queerness, and he died of AIDS.
Yeah.
So um I realized that that too was a part of how my parents understood gayness, and
Of
and
course.
and that was a huge revelation for me.
Yeah. Well, and I think even the best intended parents, it comes from a place of fear, right? It comes from, I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want your life to be harder. I don't
Mm,
want, now a little bit less so, but I feel like for a lot of people our age and a bit older, it was, well, I don't want you to get AIDS and die. And so it's so much about shame in this context is about fear. You said your aunt helps people a lot sort of go back to being straight or try to be straight. Was that ever something
It was
you
giving
wanted?
conversion
I
therapy.
know. Did you
Yeah.
ever like grapple with that and wish that you were straight in the process of coming out to yourself?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh my God. I think probably all of us do,
Sure.
and I think I was one of those kids who you could smell it on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the hell I was wearing or what I was smelling like, but the girls just knew ever since I was a
Mm-hmm.
little kid. And one of my earliest memories was when I was in the second grade, and we were all playing on the jungle gym, and I remember this kid had come up to me, and I remember the whole class kind of watching because he was sort of confronting me, and he said, "No gay people allowed." And
Damn.
I was probably 7 at the time, and I remember um having using all the force in my body to stop myself from crying. And I didn't even run away. I wanted to kind of be low key about exiting that situation. I remember just kind of walking calmly off. And it really formulated for me that this is not anything that I want to be. And so those were the early messages around that. Was that the question you asked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it just because so much of our shame comes from childhood experiences, right?
Yeah.
And I wrote a piece a couple weeks ago at this point about shame. And I had wanted to sort of expose all of the things that I held childhood shame around. And they're all like around like 7 is when they started, because that's when we were starting to understand ourselves as people. And yet we don't have the language to process any
No.
of this. And
No.
so things happen and they become so internalized, and then you just sort of deal with it for the rest of your
Yeah.
life. And now there's so much messaging, especially towards young kids, that, we've sort of looped back towards bigotry and homophobia. So if somebody is listening who is struggling with their own acceptance of being gay and wishing they were straight, perhaps, what would you tell them?
Well, I would first say it's not your fault, because what we know is that the brain most rapidly develops when you are a child and an
Right.
adolescent. And so your worldview is really forming, your neural pathways, your patterns are forming um, during that very vulnerable time in your life when you're a child. And oftentimes, the place that we expect to be safe,
Mm-hmm.
which is at home or on the playground, is usually where gay violence and gay abuse begins with our parents or with our
Right.
caretakers or with other kids on the playground. And so I'd first say it's not your fault. And then I would say, ultimately the journey of your life, which is going to be a beautiful journey, is to accept who you are on and accept your reality on reality's terms. We'll talk a lot
Ooh,
about that.
I love that. Let's talk about it now. I think that sounds so good. And it's a good sort of fast forward to how we deal with shame as adults. And you've conducted so many interviews about shame. What are sort of the most common ways that you see shame manifested in adults?
For sure. Well, for gay men, our sisters,
Our sisters and our listeners. Like I said,
yeah,
this is an audience of gay
and
men.
me,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm even though I'm on my unshaming journey,
Mm.
it's a never ending one. But I think for gay men and for LGBT people in general, what we struggle with is validation,
Okay.
and it really stems from our childhoods.
Right.
There's a really interesting stat that 83% of LGBT people have had some sort of adverse experience as children.
Okay.
That's compared to about 50% of the general population of
Mhm.
American children. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
That's about 4 out of 5 of us have some sort of adverse experience. And when that's not resolved, trauma can really manifest in addiction, compulsive behaviors around sex, anonymous sex,
Right.
I'm not a sex negative person. Like
Great. This is a very sex positive podcast.
yes, I totally advocate for a shirtless slutty night at basement. I'm here for that. But when we engage in those behaviors
Hmm.
compulsively, when we're using it to escape
Right.
from the distressing feelings of shame and loneliness, that can really be an issue. And for us, it goes back to this issue around validation.
Right.
When we are not validated for who we are as children by our parents or by our caregivers, when we're not told you are worthy of love just because you're breathing,
Mm.
we can't develop a strong sense of self. And so, for so many of us, what we end up doing is we end up developing a mentality where we have to hustle for our worth. We have to earn our worth.
Oh,
Is this
yeah,
resonating for
of
you?
course. You got to
Yeah.
be the best little boy.
Yes.
Mm.
How I'm curious like also how that manifested for you.
I mean, it's currently manifesting. It's writing,
Mm.
it's a podcast, it's
Yeah.
progress, it's all of that. And
Like defining yourself by your
of
accomplishments. Yeah.
course, it's really hard for me to rest.
Mm.
And that's probably a compulsion in and of itself. For those people listening who maybe have this like little thought in the back of their head that they might have a compulsive behavior, what are sort of the trends that people should look out for to figure out if something is just liberation or compulsion?
It's hard because in today's society, we have so many opportunities to escape
Oh,
that aren't maybe the traditional forms of addiction.
right.
Like, obviously, drug use and substance use and alcohol are more obvious forms of addiction, but um, screen time.
It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Porn, sex, anonymous sex, shopping, binge watching TV. There's nothing wrong with having some of those things be things that we use to cope with stress. If you're feeling a little stressed out and you want to have a cupcake or something, like that's fine.
Have a cupcake.
Yes, absolutely. But when you find that it's really the only way to escape the reality of your life,
Right.
when you find that when you have distressing feelings coming up over and over again, and uh, you cannot face those feelings without resorting to those behaviors, that's an issue, and also
Yeah.
serial dating too. Um,
Ooh.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't mean to call the girls out, but
No, I think that's a huge problem. Before we get there, I think
yeah.
it's also, I was listening to Mel Robbins' podcast
Mm,
about emotional eating. And it really resonates with me about this because it was like, take a moment before you do any of these activities and just ask yourself why. Ask yourself why you're doing it. If it's porn, if it's binge watching, if it's, compulsive shopping. Is it because this is a thing that I need to do? Like for food, it's really easy. Am I hungry? I should eat. But if
mm,
it's, am I sad? Therefore, I want to eat. If I'm stressed, therefore, I want to shop. If I'm bored, therefore, I think I'm
yeah,
horny, then I'm getting on the apps just to
right.
kill time, but I actually don't want to do anything. And really paying attention to the why behind anything you're doing, I think is really
Mm.
important.
For sure. And um, I am a sugar person.
Okay.
That's really my
I'm a sugar person.
yes, that is my vice.
Okay.
And I think that I probably developed that when I was a kid, but that's sort of my compulsive habit that I've been on a journey for, my whole life. And I think for so many gay men, our body image is tied up in
Oh,
eating and
yeah.
going back to our conversation around shame, one of the ways that shame can manifest for us as gay men is equating our self-worth with the male gaze and being sexually accepted
Right.
and having a six pack or abs, and that can be really connected to eating.
Mhm.
And so, for so many of us, it's a unending cycle of
Yeah.
despair because it's like, oh my God, I'm ashamed. Let me eat
Right.
to cover up those feelings and escape from it. But then the guilt and shame gets compounded because our eating is connected to our body image, which is
Mhm.
what we tie to feeling loved and accepted.
Yeah. And I feel like, yes, it's a conversation that's been happening since Instagram was invented, but it's also just getting worse. And
It is, yeah. But I want to give hope to our audience today. There's an amazing word in the English language, my favorite word in the English
okay.
language, and it's called neuroplasticity. And it
Mm.
it means that even though your brain was wired in childhood to have a particular worldview about yourself and shame, and you can change that.
Yeah.
And that's a really exciting part about unshaming.
Mhm.
I also want to just give compassion to people who feel like, an unshaming journey is you're working against the tide because you
Right.
kind of are.
Yeah, of course. I mean, everything in our culture right now wants to keep us controlled in some way, and they're doing it through these really specific psychological means that we don't understand because they're hiding them from us.
Yeah. Well, and it takes
Yeah,
advantage of how ashamed we feel
of course.
about ourselves, and our coping mechanisms are a
Yeah.
part of that.
I mean, I really want to touch on dating because that is really fascinating to me. How does shame show up in compulsive dating?
Oh, it's fascinating.
Hmm.
Um, I think many of us have a habit of dating, and taking no breaks in between when we date people.
Hmm.
Some of us are single as hell. That's me. Which
Great.
I have grown to love and appreciate. But some of us are never single.
Right.
And those of us who are never single, um, we use dating as a distraction
Hmm.
from confronting that shame and loneliness, because being single would mean having to actually deal with a lot of that, which is
Right.
devastating. It's hard work to um, and it's vulnerable to say to yourself, I want to acknowledge how unfair my life was. Um, so
Hmm.
that's one way that it can
Yeah.
show up.
Unfair in what context?
It's not fair that you had to believe that in order to receive love and acceptance, you had to hide and contort integral parts of who you are.
Right. And then you grow up and you have to keep doing it.
Oh, totally. I think even though many of us come out and we no longer believe that being gay is what makes us horrible, we still believe that we are horrible, unless we do the work to change that, which is very
Hmm.
possible. But yeah,
Well, and I think especially, I feel like I've been seeing a lot of discourse around dating recently and
yeah.
how frustrated pretty much everyone is
Mm,
with dating.
this is my hot take.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah, you are actually the problem. Yeah. Um,
Okay. Say more.
I think we live in a culture of blame,
Okay.
and it's so easy to blame the people that we're dating. It's so easy to blame. Everyone knows their attachment style now, and avoidant people have become like villains, and we want to blame them, and avoidants want to blame anxious people, when really we have to take a moment to examine what we're doing to place ourselves in those situations,
Right.
because we seek validation outside of ourselves, because shame forces us to do that. It forces us to believe that we earn our worth through how many people we can sleep with or how many people are attracted to us.
How many followers we have,
Oh,
how many
totally.
connections
Yeah.
we have, how much money we make.
Yes. In dating, what that does is it really steals from us the opportunity to choose one path.
Hmm.
And what we never talk about is the grief that you have to experience in deciding to not take all the other paths.
Ooh.
Yeah, when you are, for example, if you decide to be in a monogamous relationship, you have to grieve the fact that you don't get to choose all the other life paths.
Right.
You don't get to choose all the other partners. You have to pick that one partner, and you have to grieve the loss of all those other life paths. And I think that, that's a big part of dating. And again, shame teaches us to avoid difficult feelings.
Right.
And grief is a difficult feeling.
Grief sucks.
It sucks. And I think we associate it only with death, but it's also, there's grief in choosing to lose other life choices too, and other directions that we could go in.
And I think grief requires you to be really vulnerable, and healing shame requires you to be really vulnerable. And I think we are becoming so accustomed to living through our phones that there is a lack of vulnerability that we give each other. And I think so many people are hesitant to either express that vulnerability or ask for it. All right, so we've looked at how shame shows up in all of these ways, where it comes from our childhood. What are some of the ways that you have found people move through shame in a healthy way?
I wish that I could give people a magic wand,
You mean shame is not like a really easy thing to just figure out how to deal with?
Yeah, and I wish it was, and I think we live in a culture where we want everything to be so instantly gratifying.
Frictionless.
Totally. And fast. And this is something that isn't fast.
Yeah.
It's slow. It's boring. It's difficult. It's not sexy.
Scary.
It's super scary, because to trust that you are deserving of more is a really hard thing. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery to believe that you're deserving of a different path. You are deserving of someone who texts you good morning and good night, if that's something you want. You are deserving of someone who doesn't ghost you.
Right.
And you don't have to stay with people who disrespect you. So I would say, the number one thing that you can do to overcome shame is to accept who you are. And that includes accepting your feelings as they arise, accepting that you are worthy of love, that you are beautiful, that you are worthy of consistency just because you're breathing. And I think for so many of us, that's really hard because we have a lifetime of our brains telling us otherwise. I would encourage, everyone listening and watching to try to tell yourself those things and notice where those feelings come up in your body. Do they come up in your chest? Do they come up in your shoulders? And sitting with them for a moment.
For me, it's my upper middle back.
Really? Wow. What do you think about why it is in that particular place?
Oh, I've never thought about it before. I don't know. It's always been the part of me that, like, when I start feeling anxious or shame, I'm like, ooh, it starts like tingling.
Yeah.
But I don't know why.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, like, that's not a sexy question to dig through. It's like it's so boring, like, okay, it'll have to
It's
really go back and
inconvenient.
Yes.
And this work is not convenient for us. But I would say acceptance is a huge first step. And then I would say another huge step in dealing with shame is starting to find belonging. In my reporting, what I've come to understand is that the opposite of shame is belonging. And,
Wow. I love that.
Yes, community is a huge part of that. And finding friends that love you for who you are. Another one of my hot takes is you have to find friends that you're not fucking. You do.
Which was on one of my questions. You have to find friends that you're not fucking.
You really do.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of gay men, um, sex and friendship are sort of welded together.
Mhm.
For a lot of gay men, they find their friends through sexual encounters, and um, for some people, they can make it work. But for most of us, I want you to be real with yourself. It's not working. It's not working, and it never did. And you really need to go about the business of finding friends that you have no sexual connection with,
Mhm.
where you're not, because sex is so tied to body image
Yeah.
and
Status.
status and worthiness, and um, you don't want to think about those things when you're hanging out with your friends.
Right.
Your friends should really be, friendship is a different thing. Friendship is like, babe, you look a mess today, but I love you down anyway. And let's chill in our sweats,
Yeah.
hair tied, chilling with no makeup on.
And, like, some people can do that with people they have sex with, right? Like,
Yeah, I think it's a very small amount of us in reality. Is that you?
100%.
I support you.
100%. But I have this spectrum. I have friends who I don't have sex with. I have friends who I have sex with, and it's that sort of intimate relationship, and friends who I have sex with who it's not that intimate relationship at all. One of my favorite things about being
Mhm.
gay is sort of the fluidity of that, and yet have found myself needing to really define certain friendships because I'm like, hey, I'm not feeling sexual right now, but I'd love to hang out, but I'm nervous about it. Or with new friends who I don't know if it's going to be sexual. I'm like,
Mm.
oh, I don't want it to be, but then I just don't go and hang out with them, you know?
I don't think most of us have that self-awareness. So, I stand by what I believe in that you certainly can have friends that there are sexual um, dynamics with, but it's very important that you also have friends where that doesn't exist.
100%.
And, I think for many gay men, women are a great starting point for that.
Yeah.
Women are an amazing uh, source of purity in friendship for gay
Mhm.
men. And I think for many of us, we need to ask ourselves the question, like, if our entire friend group is people that we're only attracted to,
Mhm.
or that look like us, or are people that we are sexually attracted to, why is that an important value
Right.
in friendship? And what are your values in friendship?
Well, I think it goes back to belonging and
Mm,
sort of this idea, because I think a lot of people too, they strive for a certain group of people based on objective metrics, right? They want to be in that ripped group of people, so they work out really hard and they
yeah.
want to do all these things, and then they get to this group of people and are really lonely. So to sort of round us out before we move into the question bonanza, how do you start knowing yourself well enough to figure out where you belong?
Mm. I would start by picking 3 virtues
Okay.
that you want to strive for in your life. For me, those virtues are honesty, kindness, and acceptance.
Okay.
I don't always live up to them for sure. I am a mess sometimes. Um,
Balance. It's all about
it's all
balance.
about balance, but I try to strive for those. And I would say for, everybody listening and watching, um, think about, as you navigate your life and as experiences come up, how can you live out those virtues that you want to strive for? And you'll notice that it'll start to become easier to weed out people who don't match those virtues.
Right.
And really, what I'm getting at is you have to decide what your values are, and that will make it easier for you to understand who you're compatible with
Mhm.
as friends, as partners, what values are important to you in your life.
Yeah.
And it starts with living out those values for yourself. So I would invite everyone, maybe 3 is too much, start with 1.
Three's good. I have two. I'm trying to think of what my third is.
Mm.
And I'd say for those people
What are your
who,
2?
I'll tell you in a second. I'm
Okay.
going to spill the suspense. For those of you who are maybe feeling overwhelmed with the thought of that, like think back to times when you have felt really at peace with the people that you're with.
Yeah.
Like when
Ooh,
you don't,
peace.
yeah,
That's a
peace
good
is
one, yeah.
huge. When you don't, like for me, oftentimes I am observing myself in a situation. And when I can be with people where I don't have to observe myself, where I just am in the situation, that was a really good metric for me to sort of align my life with.
Yeah.
My two are joy and growth.
Mm.
And I sort of say, if something brings me both of those, great. If it brings me just joy, great. If it does not bring me joy, is it at least bringing me growth? And if it's bringing me neither, I don't need to do it.
Wow, I love that.
But I think the third one would be balance, of which I am failing at quite badly
Mm.
in this season of my life. But I'm looking at it in a long term. So the balance is
Oh, they're
in the
all
way.
long term.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think anyone who says that they're virtuous, 100% of the time is probably dealing with shame.
Sure.
Yeah. To overcompensate
Yeah.
for shame.
And again, it's so corrosive, shame. And I think just in talking about it is really the best way to move through it. Or writing about it. Like I wrote about it on Substack and I said, this is going to live forever on
Yeah.
the internet and be sent to, fucking 13,000
How did that
people.
feel when you press publish on that?
It felt like a little shame hangover.
Yeah.
Right. And then the worst part was that it was tied to metrics. So I could see how well it was
Yeah.
performing. And I was like, people are going to be like rocked. This is going to be incredible. And it was like, fine. It was a completely average
Yeah.
post. And that almost was more healing because I was like, look, I did this big thing. I really confessed my shames and sort of no one cared.
Mm.
And that was great. And then, of course, there were a lot of people, and this was the best part, who came forward with their own. Like, I feel like over the past 3 months, we've really, on my Substack, been talking about like performance anxiety, childhood shame, and bottom shame more recently.
Mm.
And just to be able to talk about it, you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. Because when you're ashamed, what you're scared of is somebody telling you the thing that you're already thinking about
100%,
yourself.
yeah.
So if you just say it,
And
then you're
name
like,
it, yes.
yeah. All right, now we're gonna move in to some questions.
I love that.
They're not rapid fire.
Okay.
Take your time, but they're concise. And actually, this is not on here. If you feel comfortable, what is a shame you're currently exploring in your own life?
Oh my God, where do I start? Yeah. I'm on my unshaming journey.
Yeah.
And unshaming is a lifelong thing. I'm getting older. I'm 30 now.
Here we are.
And
When's your birthday?
August.
We're like basically the same age.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
I'm
What?
September.
Okay, cool. Gotcha. Yes, my unshaming journey right now is around letting go of my youth. I'm not young anymore, and I'm noticing my body changing.
Mm-hmm.
I am this is so crazy to talk about, but I'm getting wrinkles.
Right.
Like I'm noticing like my face starting to sag more. I'm balding actually.
I've started to see my own little in
Yeah.
overhead lighting. I'm like, okay.
I fucking hate saying that.
Yeah.
Because I hate admitting that because it's like all the girls are out to Turkey.
All the girls are out to Turkey.
The flights are booked.
Mhm.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But I did a project last year where I interviewed 40 LGBT elders on how shame and love shaped their life.
Okay.
And what I found was that the AIDS crisis kept coming up again and again and again. And I really didn't know the breadth of life that was lost.
Yeah.
We really did lose an entire generation of gay men, and they were all young, almost like most of them were very young, in their 20s, in their 30s. And what I realized with that project is, as a gay man, it is a gift to grow old. It is a gift to age.
Yeah.
And the gifts that come with aging, all the love that we're going to get to have, all the memories that we're going to get to have, all the relationships that we're going to get to benefit from, all the wisdom is a gift that so many of our gay ancestors really didn't get to have. They died with their youth. And I've been trying out this thing that's really uncomfortable for me.
Okay.
But I know so many of us, as LGBT people, can spend so much time in the mirror, just like picking apart
Of
every
course.
detail of our bodies. But when I notice a wrinkle, or when I notice something about my face that's aging, I try to disrupt it by having a moment of gratitude
Yeah.
and really thanking the universe for allowing me to experience life and experience aging and all the blessings that come with
Of
that so many
course.
gay men never got to experience. So that's the biggest thing on my unshaming journey right now.
Which is such a beautiful acceptance of it. And
Mm.
like, I feel like you have already done so much unshaming work on it.
I'm trying, and it's a
Yeah,
process. I get triggered sometimes,
of
but
course. Do you know who Andrea Gibson
no, I know.
was?
Who's that?
They were a poet laureate. They passed away last year from cancer, and a lot of their writing was about cancer and their wife. And they have this article that I will put in the show notes and send to you about the old age filter and their wife, showing them first the wife in the old age filter and then Andrea in the old age filter. And their sentiment was, what a gift.
Yeah.
I won't ever see that. And what a gift. Like, every wrinkle is a person you've loved. And
Wow.
that simple
I love
article
that.
completely changed how I perceive
Mm.
aging. It's also been proven that the better your relationship to aging, the slower you age.
Wow.
It was in Life Kit, which I think is through NPR, but they look at cultures that exalt aging, and those are the people who live the longest.
Yeah.
Like, you look at the Japanese, they respect
Totally.
their elders and take care of them, and they live longer.
Yeah, and I think in the gay community, youth is another currency.
Yes
that-
and no. Like, very much yes. Like, it would be dumb to do that. But I also think some gay people get this sort of like daddy resurgence that not a lot of straight people get. Especially straight women don't get it. Maybe straight men. But I host this Substack live show with my friend Lawrence, and he's 56, and he said that recently he's in this whole new sexual category
Yeah.
where he like had a slump, and now he's back because he's suddenly a daddy. So it is weird, like, aging, like, we have our own rules, but yeah, I got lots of smile wrinkles, and they're gonna be strong.
Each of them is a person you've loved.
It's
love
a smile. Yeah, it's wild. I've never cried at like a parasocial death, and when they died, I like sobbed for 2 days. It was very affecting. I'm gonna cut most of these short because this has been such a great conversation, and they're not fluff, but they're like fun. But I want to keep a few of the fun ones. If shame was a color, what color would it be?
I don't know why, but I've always thought of it as orange.
Ooh, it's my favorite color. Careful.
It's one of my favorite colors too.
Okay.
And I think, but here's the thing. I think unshaming is also orange. So it's so interesting because I really do see the world in colors sometimes.
Yeah.
And I see both of them as orange. And I think sometimes what that signals to me is that you can take something in your life that was really broken and sad and desolate, and it can still be beautiful, and it can still be a version of yourself that you piece back together. So I think they're the
Very
same
much
color.
so. Oh, I love that. If you could rename internalized homophobia into something more fun, what would you call it?
Wow. If I could rename internalized homophobia into something more fun, I think I would rename it as the catacombs at basement.
spooky. You can get lost really easily. For those who don't
Yeah,
know, they're
you
like
can.
underground and everything's sort of red light and there's like grates and you like can never find your friends.
Yes, but I would also name that as liberation,
Same
So
thing again.
it's two sides of the same coin, but yeah.
Um, when you are feeling lonely or ashamed, is there a song that you can put on to lift your mood?
Yeah, there is.
What is it?
I actually have two.
Okay, great.
One is Slow Burn by Casey
Oh,
Musgraves. Yeah, that
so good.
shit is my jam. Like
Mhm.
that can always bring me back home.
Yeah.
The second one is Marry the Night.
Also incredible.
Yeah. And
Oh.
that was a huge coming of age record for me.
Mhm.
And I feel like whenever I listen to that album, I kind of tap into a bravery that I didn't know I have.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that answer. Is there a book that you would recommend for someone struggling with shame?
Oh, hell yeah. I saw it in your shelf, but Velvet Rage,
Mhm.
great place to start. A great place, a great book that explains shame and particularly it can be for gay men, but funny enough, actually, like my one of my straight girlfriends introduced it to me because she
Mhm.
read the book,
Okay.
and then she was like, yeah, bitch, you need to read this. And I was like, wow, as I was reading it, it read me.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty universal book, and I think that's an excellent place to start.
And now our final three questions. What is something you're feeling curious about these days?
Mm, so many things. Um, I'm feeling curious about how technology and AI is going to impact shame and the way that we feel about ourselves.
Mhm.
Um, I've been really curious about how, I don't know if you've seen this lately, but there are these like graduation speeches that are going viral
Yeah.
where
The people are booing them.
yeah, the
Mhm.
speakers are talking about AI and how important it's going to be to, the future of work, and they're being booed.
Yeah.
And, I do wonder, I think AI and technology, it's not a hot take, but I think those things are very bad for connection. They're very, very bad for unshaming, because they isolate us.
You're on the right podcast.
um, and, they enable us to stay alone and to hide behind a fear of rejection. But I'm starting to see a huge dissatisfaction with that from young people and from people generally
Yeah.
in this country. And I wonder what that's going to lead to. I really do, especially when, there's no regulation around it officially right
Nothing.
now. And it seems to be like a race with China. So it's like it's a huge economic thing, and I wonder, in a democracy like ours, what is it going to mean when if a majority of people are not satisfied with the way
Right.
we're going?
Yeah, it's a weird
I'm curious
time.
about that.
I am very curious about that as well. When you're feeling down, how do you seek out connection?
Aiden, I had mentioned that the opposite of shame is belonging, and belonging for me, I really define belonging as three branches. One is service, one is spirituality, and one is community.
Mm.
And for me, community has been a huge, huge, huge part of how I feel belonging in my
Yeah.
life. And my friendships are so important to me. My friendships are, particularly with straight women, actually,
Mhm.
have taught me unconditional love. Um, and when I'm feeling down, I know that I can call my girlfriends, and I know that I'll be loved and accepted for who I am,
No.
and not for what I look like, or not for where I am, or what I'm accomplishing, or what my failures might be, or regrets.
what's a recent example of community that makes you smile?
Actually, going back to Basement, yeah.
Basement is not a sponsor of this episode,
No,
but
they
they're
maybe
getting
they
their
should
time.
be actually, yeah, I don't know if they're, shaming or unshaming.
Uh-huh.
I don't get out much these days because 'cause
Okay.
I'm like you,
Busy boy.
I'm a busy boy, but my one of my best friends turned 31 the other day, and so she was like, "What? We have to go to Basement." I'm like, "Oh god, okay." Um, Look, everyone needs a shirtless night at
Uh-huh.
Basement every once in a while. So, one of my New Year's resolutions is rejection resilience.
Ooh.
So I'm like, you know what? If I think someone's cool,
Mhm.
I'm gonna approach them and I'm gonna tell them that I think they're cool. And I found this group of really just such stellar guys
Yeah.
that were at Basement that just seemed so friendly and amazing. And I just was like, hey, like, are you guys doing anything after this? Like, are you having an afters? Um, and they were like having an after party and going to like an afters thing. And they kind of took me in and didn't
Ugh,
even really know me. And we like went to their place and had like breakfast and fed their dogs
man,
and
cute.
chilled out. And I like ruined my shirt. And so they like gave me a shirt and stuff to wear to the next thing. And I was like, wow, sometimes taking the risk of putting yourself out there and
Yeah.
and maybe facing that risk of rejection can really pay off. And community sometimes is just on the other end of that risk. And
Ooh.
that was a lesson that I learned that night.
Wow. What a stellar answer and a stellar little soundbite at the end. That was so good. So you have your own podcast that is about to launch.
Yeah.
Can you tell the people a little bit about it and where they can find it and where they can find you for more of this brilliant wisdom that you have?
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not that wise, but I feel blessed that I have had a career that has been around seeking wisdom, and I've learned a lot through that.
And
So
yeah, you've imparted a lot of that to me
thank you.
today and listeners. So thank
Thank you.
you.
And I hope that they can give us wisdom too. Yes, so Unshaming, you can listen to it wherever you're listening or watching this podcast. Um the theme is it's kind of cute. So it's basically an invitation to a dinner party.
Hmm.
And at this dinner party, the rule is you have to be hot to get in.
Okay.
And the only way you can be hot is you have to be yourself.
Hot.
If you're not being yourself, you're not hot. And so you have to be authentically yourself in order to get in. And once you're there, your curiosity knows no bounds. You can ask any question. All of the topics that we've been told to believe are taboo are on the
Mhm.
menu. So we're going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about politics. We're going to talk about religion. We're going to talk about relationships and dating, and all the ways that shame impacts those aspects of our life. And you're going to be introduced to some of the most fascinating guests at this dinner party, and you're going to ask them any question you want. We have a Catholic priest that is trying to convince Pope Leo that gays belong in the church. We have a neuroscientist who's going to talk about the impacts of porn on the brain.
Mm.
We have the New York Times journalist who leads their spirituality beat, who's going to
Wow.
talk about the importance of spirituality. We have a sex therapist who believes that living out your sexual fantasies and your kink is going to heal your trauma.
And that is true.
It is true.
I will support that.
So you are invited to this dinner party, this unshaming dinner party, just as you are. And I'm so excited to have you as my guest at this party.
Wow. Oh, I cannot wait to listen. That's so exciting. Unshaming,
Yes.
wherever you listen to your podcast.
At Unshaming.
Bam. Thank you so much.
It has been a pleasure.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It really has.
I believe that this is like the most balanced conversation I feel like I've had in a very long time.
I love that.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too. Yes.
Thank you so much for getting close with me today.
I loved it. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And thank you for listening to the show. You know it means the world to me that you're spending your time with me. Remember that we are going to take a break in July and August. We're having a little summer relaxation, so don't be scared when new episodes don't come out, technically at the end of June. But until then, please join us next week when I sit down with Mo Ari Brown from Hinge and we unpack relationships and dating and the new Hinge LGBTQ date report. It's a fascinating, data-filled episode, and I'm so excited for you to hear it. Remember, when connection feels far away, we start by getting close.